Hello again, everyone. I am, as always, TheSynapZe, and this is Geek Criteek. I don't even need to say anything more, do I? Well, I suppose I can say this. Of all the TV shows I watched back when I was 10 or 12 years old, from Tiny Toon Adventures to Rocky and Bullwinkle, Batman the Animated Series is the only one I not only own on DVD, but still watch on a regular basis. In the 20 years since it began, this show has proven to be astonishingly influential, not only to the Batman mythos, but also to the very art of American animation. Now, if you were to ask around for what was the most influential moment from good old BTAS, I'm pretty sure that most people of my age and disposition would say it would be the introduction of the Joker's #1 henchwench, Harley Quinn. I mean, I can't even imagine why. Although, every time I think of Harley, I think of how the very rich backstory she was later given so humorously clashes with her last line from her very first episode.
Oi, beauty school's starting to look pretty good about now.
Beauty school? Woman, you have a doctorate in psychiatry. Take some pride in your hard work. But for me, my absolute favorite character is one Dr. Victor Freeze.
That's Mr. Freeze to you.
Mr. Freeze was the first example I remember seeing in my Saturday morning cartoon-addled youth of a truly sympathetic villain, a man who was downtrodden by horrible circumstances and sought noble ends through despicable means. Many kind words have already been spoken about Freeze's first episode, Heart of Ice. It won an Emmy. It's many of the show creators' favorite episodes. And well, it's my favorite episode too. I was really taken in by the story of the meek but brilliant scientist who tried to save his beloved wife Nora from a terminal illness by appropriating his employer's cryogenic resources, causing his boss to respond a bit more murderously than he had expected. The resultant fracas in that den of super scientific coldness would have, in any other superhero story, granted Mr. Freeze with awesome ice-controlling, blizzard-summoning powers. Not here! No, Freeze got the awesome power known as dying of heat stroke at room temperature, so he has to wear a mobile fridge. Yeah, the image of Victor and Nora as two doomed lovers sealed away in their own personal icy tombs, one who's dead to the world and the other who is dead inside, is so powerful that almost every incarnation of the characters since can't help but evoke it. Another thing that I feel contributed to Mr. Freeze's lasting legacy is, strangely enough, just how sparingly he was used. After all, Freeze was only in one other episode of the show during its initial run, one called Deep Freeze. That story is about Freeze getting busted out of prison by Walt Disney. Of course, they didn't call him that, but trust me, that's who he was supposed to be. So anyway, Freeze's new theme park building benefactor really admires how his transformation into an abominable snowman has made him functionally immortal, and so he wants to be one too! While there's no way I can take this story as seriously as Heart of Ice, I do think that it ultimately comes out on top, mostly thanks to Mr. Freeze's totally badass dialogue.
I want to live like this, abandoned and alone. A prisoner in a world you can see but never touch. Old and infirm as you are, I'd trade 1,000 of my frozen years for your worst day.
And then of course after that we came to his animated movie. Does anyone here know what it was called? Anyone? Oh yes, you in the back, the announcer from Mortal Kombat.
Sub-Zero.
That is correct. In Sub-Zero, Nora's condition takes a turn for the worse, and Freeze and his tuxedo-clad surgeon friend inadvertently kidnap Batgirl in her civilian guise in order to harvest all of her internal organs. So if you ever wanted to watch Repo the Genetic Opera without all those horrendous musical numbers, here you go!
How can you treat people this way?
It's the way they've always treated me. Nora was the only good thing in my life, and they took her from me. I don't care what I have to do to get her back.
Now, I wouldn't say it was the best of the Bats animated features. the second act in particular is really badly paced, but I still think it's really worth seeing because it so beautifully resolves Mr. Freeze's character arc. At the end, other doctors are able to cure Nora thanks to his research, and Freeze is overcome with joy, but also accepts the fact that he's no longer the man she loved, and that they can never have the life they once had together. And so he heads into the frozen wastes, alone as always, but warmed by the thought of his beloved living her own life again. And then the show came back for another season, made by the same people who were making the successful Superman animated series at the time. And they wanted a new Mr. Freeze story. And it was called Cold Comfort. I first saw it many years ago. And now, I'm finally in a position to enact my revenge. And revenge is a dish
best served cold.
So the show begins with a paleontologist showing off this dinosaur skeleton that took her 30 years to find, excavate, and reassemble. And it probably would have taken her another 20 years if Jurassic Park hadn't come around and sent a flood of college kids in her direction. But then, Mr. Freeze storms the place, flanked by his trio of henchwomen in mini-skirted parkas. Let me repeat that for those of you in the cheap seats. Henchwomen in mini-skirted parkas. I'm barely 15 seconds into this show, and I'm already wondering why more people haven't made fun of this on the internet yet. Oh hey, did I mention Freeze's henchmen in Sub-Zero? I don't think I did. Yeah, they were sentient polar bears. Yeah, I find that the thuggish criminal enforcer bears that follow verbal commands to be less ridiculous than human beings in sexually provocative winter wardrobes. Go figure. So what's Freeze doing here? Is he gonna pawn the dinosaur bones so he can afford to buy his lady friend some pants?
I did not come here to steal bones, Dr. Madsen. I came to steal hope.
You know, this may be my blind fandom talking here, but I think if you're going to bring back a character who had one of the greatest villainous motivations of all time, then you need to give him a better one than he is now a colossal dick. Well, Freeze, you basically just kicked over an expensive sandcastle and made a little old woman cry out of petty spite. So why should I be at all compelled or sympathetic to your plight now?
Why not?
Okay, we're going to get back to you.
Doesn't make any sense. What does Victor Freeze gain by destroying a bunch of bones?
And let the record show that Bruce Wayne thinks this plot's extremely stupid. So yes, we're at this major high society event, and one of Freeze's snow bunnies practically streaks through the packed crowd of Gotham's upper crust. And of course, Bruce Wayne is the only one who notices. But then Mr. Freeze rappels down from the ceiling and meets this Italian fellow who spent decades making this giant matte painting. And he destroys it, because he's a dick. Damn, I just thought of something. If it takes me 30 years to make episode 9 of Geek Criteek, would someone please remind me on Facebook? I don't want to bring Victor here and have him destroy my editing rig.
Search your hearts for the thing you value most, then despair, for I have come to take it from you.
No! Not the booze! No! I'm filled with despair! In the ensuing fight, one of the henchwomen gets her feet frozen, and Freeze abandons her because the writer wanted to remind us of that similar thing that happened in the first episode. Wasn't that a good story?
So Freeze just let you go? Doesn't make sense.
Nothing about Freeze's behavior makes sense anymore.
And let the record show that Batman thinks that this plot is extremely stupid.
Before, he did everything to keep his wife alive. But after she was revived, he never came to see her.
Why not?
Nobody knows.
She finally gave up waiting, married her doctor, and left Gotham for good.
Wow! That was the throwaway line to end all throwaway lines. Was it really important to establish that she married her doctor? What? You know, we never really saw what happened to Nora after she woke up from her coma, so I'd like to think it went something like this. Well, Mrs. Freeze, the results are back for your 5th battery of tests. There is absolutely no trace of whatever the hell your disease was. You are cured. You may leave the hospital now.
I'm not leaving.
Mrs. Freeze, you have your own life back now. You don't need to...
Victor will want to see me, and I'm waiting here until he comes. And don't remind me of his ice-themed supervillainy or the waves of terror he's visited upon Gotham. I don't care. No two people have ever loved each other as much as we do, and he waited years for me. I will wait at least as long for him.
Did you know that he worked with Walt Disney?
Walt Disney?
Mm-hmm.
The guy who owns Marvel Comics?
Mm-hmm.
Well, screw him then. I'd rather be married to you.
Well, thanks. You know, that is the main reason why I took this job. Next, there's this scene where Freeze has these hostages, and the hostages are like, "We hostages are leaving now." And Freeze is like, "You can't leave, I'm holding you hostage." And so the hostages continue to be held hostage. A minute well spent, guys! Hey everybody, guess who's next on Freeze's shit list?
As my father once told me, those who have the most must give the most.
Those who have the most also have the most to lose, Mr. Wayne.
And then we get a solid 90 seconds of Batgirl's Danger Room exercises, which have no bearing on the plot at all. It's almost like the bold new Freeze is a dick storyline wasn't robust enough to fill out 22 minutes. Hey, I know what will kill even more time. Let's have Bruce scold Tim Drake for failing his civics midterm.
You don't know the first thing about the American justice system, do you?
I know it's bogus.
And how did you come to that well-thought-out conclusion?
Watching you. You don't exactly follow the rules of due process.
Adults who are costume vigilantes raise children who are costume vigilantes. Oh, thank goodness, Freeze is finally here. So he reminds Bruce that his parents are dead, and this is reason enough for Freeze to kill his surrogate family in front of him. Victor, my man, seriously, you need to find a new hobby. Like board games. Hey, have you ever played Settlers of Catan? It's like an economic war game. It's really good. Plus, it's ideal for 4 players, so you can invite your snow bunnies. I forgot. You abandoned one of them, and she probably had to have her feet amputated, so yeah, she's probably not in the mood to play with you. That's okay. We got Apples to Apples. Oh, wait, no. Oh, no, you need at least 4 people. Nah, never mind. Hey, Dominion's pretty good. Yeah, it's like, really, the point I'm trying to make here is, stop being a dick! Bruce and Tim are able to fight off Freeze and his cronies suspiciously well. Batgirl plants a tracer on the Freeze-mobile. Bruce draws a bath for Alfred for a change. And now the Bat Clan's ready to bring the fight to Vic the Dick. Oh god, I was gonna ask you to nail Freeze with us, Robin, but that face is seriously freaking me out. You better stay here and towel off Alfred. We're Audi 5000. So the Master Detectives discover that Freeze's hideout is in an abandoned meat locker. I'm about as surprised as I was the 6th time he found the Joker at an abandoned comedy club. In short order, Batman frees the hostages.
Who are you?
Doctors.
Freeze needed us on call because his henchwomen keep getting frostbite on their thighs. Oh great, now Batman and Batgirl are hostages because they were so busy jawing with the hostages. Way to go, hostages!
Hey, Freeze! Look who dropped in.
I was hoping to see you again.
You know, I've learned that my inherent suspension of disbelief for comic book soft science bullcrap is directly proportional to my own inherent respect for the story being told. Yeah, so that said, when did Batman become fucking Futurama? Ow, no, I just realized this story has been Futurama since the beginning!
Can we get inside the shack? I'm wearing a belly parka.
Ironic, isn't it? After all I did to keep my wife whole, I end up like this. You understand now why I could not return to my Nora, my treasure.
Let's go back to the tape, shall we? Oh, wait! I totally see it now! Look at the anguish in his face over the fact that he can't visit his wife anymore! It would be so embarrassing to roll up to her in his robot spider body! No, you'd better find some random guy and wreck his life's work! You've earned it, buddy! But no! That really is the point of all this! Freeze lost his body, so that's supposed to give him a free ticket to indulge in arbitrary dickery! Okay, yes, Freeze has always been, unfeeling and cold and vindictive, but he's never been this crazy. And yes, I think I'd be a little upset if I was reduced to being a head in a jar, but none of this adds up to me. Maybe it's because I can't accept how his new condition really hinders him in any way. So what if he has to wear a sweet cybernetic suit to get around? He's been wearing robot suits for a while now. How is he worse off than he was before? Forget it. Let's just move on. Okay, Cold Comfort, you've got 4 more minutes to redeem yourself, alright? Make me proud.
You'll notice a bomb inside. It's a reverse fusion bomb.
A reverse fusion bomb. You mean a fission bomb? As in a standard issue atomic bomb? And what do you intend to use this atomic bomb for, Freeze?
When I drop it on Gotham, everything within 10 miles will be frozen solid, blanketing the city in white, silent death. 1.
Nuclear winter does not work that way, and 2, if you've had this bomb and been so nihilistically emo this whole time, why didn't you just set the bomb off first? The sudden deaths of over 1 million people? Now that would steal a lot of hope!
Shoot his legs if he moves. I want him alive. I want to see his despair.
And once I've destroyed Gotham with my poorly thought out bullshit technobabble, then you have my permission to die.
So needless to say, Batman gets to the chopper, and there's a climactic final battle, which ends when Batman lashes Freeze to the bomb with a cable. Wow, I should be making a Dr. Strangelove reference here, but I'm just too depressed. Look at this, I'll probably never get so good an opportunity again, but no, don't have it in me. Really like Dr. Strangelove too. God damn you, Cold Comfort. Okay, maybe I'll have enough energy to squeeze out a Titanic riff here, because hey, after all, this episode was like an iceberg to Mr. Freeze's character. Oh, don't you dare sequel bait this, you jackasses. Who am I even kidding? I already know that there was a sequel to this. It was in Batman Beyond. It was called Meltdown, where Mr. Freeze was revived 50 years in the future by a skeletal radioactive business tycoon. And let me tell you, this episode was really good. Yeah, it built on all of Freeze's existing themes like isolation and revenge, and Freeze did genuinely attempt to atone for his crimes, and it was pretty much everything I could hope for in a Mr. Freeze story. So yeah, I'd highly recommend Meltdown. Cold Comfort, on the other hand, is getting the cold shoulder. In my eyes, this episode didn't get a single thing right. While I should be grateful that it kept the character going after his first major story was resolved, his new story arc felt desperate, lazy, and creatively bankrupt from start to finish. When all's said and done, Cold Comfort's legacy is unfortunate proof that Mr. Freeze, as awesome and complex a villain as he is, regrettably kind of needs Nora to motivate him as a foil for Batman, or his story will probably be a complete crapshoot. And that'll do it for this episode of Geek Criteek. Join us next time, won't you, when, in the interest of fairness, I'll be putting the squeeze on one of Marvel's animated series when I...
Synapse.
Yeah?
Wasn't Mr. Freeze in some kind of live-action film or something?
Was he?
The Iceman cometh. You are not sending me to the cooler. Stay cool, bird boy. Hell freezes over. Let's kick some ice always winterize your pets.
I don't think he was. No.
You're so cold, but you feel alive. Lay your hand on me one last time. Show me how it ends. It's alright. Show me how defenseless you really are.
Okay, everybody.
Freeze!
Hey, I wanted to say it.